What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another topsy-turvy day in the world of Malum Markets, where we discuss Pokemon trading card game market analytics, specifically as it relates to buying and selling Pokemon cards. Now, since this is our first video, I will say we're going to do a ton of data analysis and a ton of data visualization involving real actual sales and actual data and information, thousands and thousands of data points. If that sounds up your alley, then stay tuned for this and more videos because we're going to nerd out super hard on this channel. Now, specifically for today, we are going to discuss Modern. Now, as many of you probably have heard, Modern is dead. Or is it? Now, in any market, there's a lot of niches. Some of those niches may go up or down, while the entire market as a whole appears to go up or down. Now, I'd be remiss, too, if I did not say that if you're collecting for fun or just to play the game, who cares? Do you have fun? But if you're like me and you're looking to collect and invest, then this channel and this video is definitely for you. Today, we will be analyzing actual real tens of thousands, maybe 50 or hundreds of thousands of eBay sales from 2020 and 21, specifically as it relates to Ultra Modern Sword and Shield ETBs and one set related to Hidden Fates ETB. We're going to discuss these data in a Q&A style format and at the end, provide a pretty cool framework for analysis for this set going forward. This took a ton of time to put together and I'm doing it for my own interest because I love this kind of stuff. But subscribe if you guys think this is helpful for you too as well, and I'll continue to make videos like this. Couple of quick caveats. eBay data is an absolute mess, and it took hours and hours and hours to purge the crappy data points. That said, I am human. I cleaned it, but it's not perfect, so those numbers are rounded. Another really key important point here is that this does not include shipping and tax, which obviously would affect the total cost. Of course, like I mentioned before, the data is to June. June is not over as of the time I produce this video, so this data is as of June 23rd. And there are plenty of other places, social media, other bidding sites that you can actually buy this kind of stuff. So the market price may differ slightly from those to those, but eBay is the best one to track actual sales. Finally, the analysis is my opinion. Let's debate in the comments. I would love to have a discussion about this stuff and talk about it further once the video is done. Question number one, which is more expensive today, right now, a Hidden Fates ETB or a Darkness Ablaze ETB? Quick comparison for those of you who may not be familiar, Hidden Fates was released August 2019, Darkness Ablaze about a year later. Hidden Fates is from the Sun and Moon set, Darkness Ablaze current Ultra Modern Sword and Shield. Hidden Fates is only available in this ETB or tins, whereas Darkness Ablaze is ETB, booster box, all that good stuff. The biggest difference here is the shiny vault in Hidden Fates, which has shiny Charizard, Mewtwo, the Evolutions, ton more valuable cards in the set, whereas Darkness Ablaze, the most valuable card is the Charizard VMAX at about $80 today on TCG Player. So as you can tell, on paper, Hidden Fates a much more desirable set from a pull perspective, though both sets do contain a Charizard. Let's see what the data says. Here are actual thousands of data sales points between Hidden Fates and Darkness Ablaze ETBs between April 20 and June 21. I included a $40 on here just so you can see relative to about retail. I know it varies 40 or 50 depending on the set, but you can see here Darkness Ablaze has just about edged out Hidden Fates here in June, which is a little bit crazy, and honestly, I was surprised. Now let's see some important dates here. Darkness Ablaze, again, came out in August of 2020. Hidden Fates, when this started, was about 10 months old at that point, and you can see right here in January and February, that Hidden Fates reprint came out, and boom, all of a sudden the price dropped. And compare here, hundreds of monthly sales in 2020 versus thousands in 2021, which is that reprint. Obviously, there's a lot more supply. We hear about supply and demand a lot, but here's some actual numbers that prove it versus the hundreds of monthly sales or less, including only 50 or so in 2021 for Darkness Ablaze this year. That has dramatically affected the price of these two ETBs over time, and as we can see, the key data point here to answer our question, June 2021, where the Darkness Ablaze has actually edged out the Hidden Fates ETB in price by a little bit. So, which is more expensive right now? Well, we just answered it. About $120 per ETB versus $116 per ETB in June 2027. This is going to vary market to market, obviously, but this is what those thousands of eBay data points tell us. Now, as far as future prospects, in my opinion, Hidden Fates, it's one of the most desirable sets, one of the best ones to collect. Both sets have a Charizard. I am super bullish on both of these sets long term. Darkness Ablaze not quite as desirable, but especially if that doesn't get reprinted again, we'll see, or if Hidden Fates doesn't get reprinted again, we'll see. Both sets have good long-term prospects, in my opinion. We'll cover that later in the video as we talk about all of these ETBs combined. Next question, number 2, Crash. Is the eBay price above this, above or below $40 right now? Originally released in May, what do we think? Well, actually, shockingly for Rebel Clash, not a super desirable set. It was actually below $40 for almost all of 2020, and you can compare the supply data points yet again with today it being about $64, which was shocking to me because I passed on this set when it initially came out. We actually see a similar pattern with the regular Sword and Shield base set here, with today it being sold for around $92, most of 2020 under that $40 price point. But as you know, this was a lower demand set, supply was low at the time, and suddenly that changed the price over time. Now, a key note here, the Zamazenta and Zacian sets do sell a little bit differently, with Zacian selling a little bit higher. Just wanted to point that out here. But again, as you can see here, the supply tells the story. It was a low demand set, wasn't printed too much, and here we go. Now, because of that, it is actually selling above $50 today. We'll get into a further analysis at the end of the video of where this leaves us in the long-term prospects, but in my opinion, it's not a desirable set. Really, only Farts Full Art Trainers are the main collectible card. Those are being reprinted in sets like Shining Fates now. I'm a little bearish on this set long-term, but again, we will define this in our matrix at the end of the video, and you'll see where this set fits in with all of the Sword and Shield ETBs at the end of the video. Question number 3. Name a Sword and Shield ETB, not Chilling Reign, that is never resold at retail on eBay. I really didn't count Shining Fates in here as well, but the answer to that question is Champion's Path. What is there not to like about the Champion's Path set? 2 Charizards, a Rainbow Charizard and the Shiny Charizard, both over $200 a card on TCG Player. Obviously, the highly desirable box art. Who knows if it's being reprinted? Plus, the fact that Champion's Path is not collectible in any booster boxes or anything like that make this set a little bit harder to find, which obviously has contributed to this data that you see on the screen here now, over the $50 retail point, even since the pre-sale date. This has been going strong from the beginning, currently selling at about $87 per. You see the pre-sale and the release dates there. And of course, we'll look at the supply curve here in a second. And as that pops up on our screen now, you can see thousands and thousands of monthly sales, despite how popular it was. Maybe demand, supply was still a little low back in 2020, versus hundreds of monthly sales now. And that is actually increasing the price. So long term, I am super, super, super bullish on this set. I think this is going to go on for a while, possibly the last reprint of it as well. Champion's Path is going to continue to go high, especially because you can't find these cards in any other booster boxes or anything like that. So where does that leave us with all Sword and Shield ETBs as we go into the future as collectors and investors? I know I'm moving through this data really quickly. I wanted to try to keep the video as short as possible. So again, if you appreciate it and want more like this, even if I talk a little more slowly, please like and subscribe to this video. But here are all of the ETBs for Sword and Shield that have gone up. So that's Darkness Ablaze, Base Set, Vivid Voltage, Champion's Path, and Rebel Clash. All of these ETBs have actually appreciated pretty decently well over the last calendar year, let's say. These are continuing to go up. Who knows which will be reprinted, which won't. Obviously, Vivid Voltage itself just got a reprint, but not in the ETB, and I do think that'll help Vivid Voltage going forward in particular. Now here, as we switch to the negative Sword and Shield ETB data, ironically, we see Shining Fates, Chilling Reign, and Battle Styles. These were the 3 most recent sets. All 3 of these have thousands and thousands of monthly sales. Of course, they're more recent, so we could see them go up again over time, but production clearly finally caught up from the Pokemon Company. Pokemon Company is going to print to demand. It's going to be difficult to see what these sets will do, but most of the sets have gone up over time. Like I said, Chilling Reign still is selling pretty well, and all of the sets have progressively risen once they've been out of print. That said, we are likely to continue to see high print volumes going forward, as the Pokemon Company has said many, many times they will print to meet demand. As long as those sets are in demand, they're probably going to reprint them, and those older, less likely to reprint sets will be the ones that will continue to rise, maybe the ones that even were not as desirable initially. So here's our framework that we're going to analyze all of these ETBs through. These ETBs are going to get fit into one of 4 different categories based essentially on the print volume and the set demand. Obviously, higher set demand but lower print volume, the more expensive it'll be, versus on the opposite, higher print volume and lower demand, the least expensive it'll be. Shining Fates is an interesting one. In the high set demand, obviously, Eevee, Charizard, blah, 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 but clearly been printed a butt ton recently, whereas something like Rebel Clash is going to fit in that bottom left quadrant, something with low set demand, probably lower print volume due to all the 2020 stuff we went through. Now, Here we see Darkness Ablaze, Vivid Voltage, and Champion's Path in that lower print volume. It's all relative, but lower print volume, higher set demand, where you see something like the Sword and Shield base, Battle Styles, and Chilling Reign in that upper left quadrant. Higher print volume, maybe a little bit lower demand. Tough to say on the Chilling Reign as of now. What's interesting too is all the new legendaries from Sword and Shield besides Eternatus are in that kind of that upper left quadrant. But of course, if you see something in that bottom right quadrant, those are going to be your targets for the future that you think, hey, highly desirable, probably going to go up in value. Whereas upper left quadrant, those are the things that you're probably going to want to avoid, especially if you're in a finite budget. Again, maybe collect them, maybe don't, but that's kind of up to you depending on what you want to collect versus what you want to invest in and what your budget is. The question mark here is clearly going to be that upper right quadrant and that bottom left quadrant with stuff like the Rebel Clash ETB and the Shining Fates ETB, and maybe even throw the Sword and Shield base set in there. We really don't know what's going to happen to these sets over time. Shining Fates is highly, highly, highly printed and will continue to be highly, highly, highly printed. That probably will keep the values really low for a long time, as you saw on the chart. Will they go up over time? Tough to say. It is a desirable set. On the flip side, the lower demand sets, clearly those are going up in value too. Now, you may be sitting here with a Rebel Clash ETB having trouble selling it at $60, but that's the trade-off. It's lower demand, so yes, eventually those probably will sell, but it's going to take a little bit longer to sell too because it's in lower demand, but it probably will sell over time and continue to appreciate a little bit just because the chances of that being reprinted are low. So that is all of the data and all of the analysis. That's why we're a little more bullish on the bottom right section, bearish on the upper left section, and those two, upper right and bottom left, a little bit tougher to predict, probably will do well over time. Thank you all so much for checking out this video and nerding out with me for a few minutes. I know I went through all this data super quickly. I tried not to make the video too long, so feel free to pause and go back. And also let me know, do you agree? Do you disagree? This analysis is obviously all my opinion, so feel free to let me know in the comments. I love this stuff. I love talking about it. Would love to continue the conversation more. And once again, thank you guys for checking it out. If you found this helpful, please consider liking and subscribing, and we'll see you on the next one.